As soon as the National Guard of Texas takes over, it has mostly solved the problem. If people show up and get in the way, you're getting in the way of the guys winning. It's like, nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Especially because it looks like NBC is trying to prime normies to expect violence and calls for civil war. So do not give them an opportunity to false flag.
And almost likely be down there covering whatever this turns into. But I don't really see it going very far. I mean, I saw a Fox News hit the other day where they said 700,000 vehicles were on their way, which I don't know where they came up with that number.
I think
I've been in contact with people in the convoy. It isn't happening. That's not how big they are. Yeah, you have a few thousand people heading down, but there's also 3 different endpoints. So they're going to be split up between 3 different endpoints in different sectors of the border. So I'm not expecting, a huge crowd there, but articles like this is just basically just priming people and prepping people for what would be a false flag. Like, what are you possibly going to do going down to the border to actually help National Guard or to help the good guys win in this case?
It was very different than the trucker convoy where they're basically locking down all around Canadian Parliament and saying, we're going to make your life so difficult because you have made our life so difficult. I don't really see the same symbolic thing. I understand wanting to show your support, obviously wanting to do something. I like the idea of call to action, but ultimately anyone I know who knows about this has started being like, feds everywhere.
Yep. And a lot of people think it's going to be J6 all over again.
I feel like that about anything where there's any amount of protests now, right? Because it's not a matter of who goes, it's a matter of who controls the media narrative around what happens, right?
But I don't think the media narrative matters as much as people think. I'm well beyond this. Like, we just saw digital media implode over the past few weeks, and it's been in free fall for the past couple of years. One of the worst days ever. They got to call it like Bloody Thursday or something, how many layoffs there were this week.
Yeah, Taylor Lorenz's video of her complaining about all of it. I mean, they're laying people off during election season, election writers as well, which is insane. But I have a problem with, people not attending. Like, I understand protests. I understand the point of them. Obviously, they're not hyper effective, especially after January 6th. But everybody has essentially been neutered after January 6th. And I was there on January 6th, so I understand the ramifications.
But look, I'm not saying don't protest, don't organize, don't get together, don't have assemblies. I'm saying don't go up against CBP on federal jurisdiction during a conflict.
Well, and especially when Border Patrol has essentially sided with the National Guard in this situation. I think the protest was planned before the Shelby Park stuff happened. But now that this is actually going on, it does lead to more potential problems or conflict. Buy it.
And I don't care. In Arizona, have you been at the Arizona border?
A few times. Not as much as Eagle Pass,
Is CBP facilitating illegal immigration?
Everywhere.
So when they come out and they're like, no, we agree with Texas. And then they go, keep the human smuggling running in Arizona. I'm like, I don't care. That you get no free passes. Yeah, they've realized they've lost in Texas, but they still got New Mexico, they got Arizona, they got California. So they're probably looking at it like, hey, we're a bunch of human smugglers. Texas is going up against us. If we go to war with them, it could screw the whole operation up. Let's call it a loss and then shift all the cartel operations to these states so we can keep getting our kickbacks or whatever it is they're doing.
Well, and the reality is they haven't even lost in Texas at this point. Just in the Shelby Park and Eagle Pass sector, which is where most illegal migrants do come through, because 15 miles upwards, you're still having, illegal migrants cross this area. So it's still happening. You're just not seeing these massive groups, but they're still allowing people to be processed. And there are rumors that, any immigrants that are being, basically detained by National Guard are essentially being handed off to CBP. There are some videos out there. So it could still just be, it could just be for looks, which would be a shame, but I don't think it is that in this case. But they need to do this for all of Texas, the entirety of the Texas border, if they're actually serious about stopping illegal immigration completely.